Right, and the music also. Let me reduce the volume of it. And I have made progress. I have made some progress in our app, and yep, we'll just continue to that. So, projects, CD, YouTube, ledger, main.c, and let me show you something. Yep, here I have created a file which says refresh token and another hidden file which says access token, and these files they contain whatever the refresh and access token is that they got before. Yep, that is just amazing. So now what the system is that if someone launches the program, they will come and then the program will see if there is a refresh token, and if there is, then it will use that refresh token to send a request to the Google server to get another access token which they can use and which the program can use to get further request and move further. But if the refresh token file is empty and there is nothing, then in that case the user will be prompted to log in using what, which is it is it is. Yeah, let's just do this then. Main.c. What do I have to do? Yep. Here I can print that the refresh token. This is a function which gets the refresh token. And now let me revise a bit what I have written till now. Pthread, I create a thread. Code is null, and then I call the code thread, and I call the fetch code function, and this is running on another thread because this thread starts a server. And yep, I'm starting a server on a new thread which listens for a response from the Google OAuth server which gets me the code, and then I get the code. First I get the URL, and no, I get the code. uh, I start a server which listens for some code which is sent by Google, and then I'm getting a URL, and then I redirect the user to that URL. Then I join the thread. That is, I get the code. After that, I check if I have gotten a code or not. Then I give that code to fetch token function, which fetches a tokens, refresh token and access token. It returns a list, and it returns an array of char pointers which has two numbers, and then it refreshes. I save the tokens, both of them, and then I fetch a refresh token. Now I want to clear some conceptual understandings, and before that I would also like to reduce the volume a bit. That is fine. Yep. In O auth auth 2.0 for Google, I have gotten the refresh token and access token. Now, can I use the latest refresh token always to get a new access token? To get the new access token, unless the user unless the user themselves um, invokes my invokes their consent. Let's see. Log and GPT plus. No. Yes, in with Google, you can keep using the same refresh token to obtain a new access token. Once one of the following things happen: user revokes access, the user goes to their Google account setting and revokes your app's permissions. The refresh token will become invalid. Refresh token expiration. Google refresh tokens generally don't expire, but they can under certain circumstances. Example: if user hasn't used your app for a long time, too many refresh tokens. Google issues a new refresh token each time a user authenticates. However, only the latest 50 refresh tokens are valid. If you keep getting new refresh tokens, older ones will be invalid. That is cool. I will keep getting new refresh tokens. App permissions change. If you update the requested OAuth scope, to re you may need the user to reauthorize best practices. Store the refresh token securely. Reuse the same refresh token to get new access tokens. Handle the case where the refresh token becomes invalid by prompting the user to re-authenticate. Okay, now I have a refresh token and I would like to write a function which gets me um, an access token given the refresh token. Okay, this thing, yep, this, how can I make a folder? Site helper.c fetch token. Let's create a new folder. Will be called fetch access token.c. Yep, that is its name. And yeah, it will take in a refresh token and give me the access token, which will be a char pointer. Fetch access token. It will take in a char pointer, which is going to be refresh token. Refresh and yeah. How do I do that? Let's see. I have some helper functions which I can use. Complete examples. Mm. Client ID, client secret, scope is this much, right? Redirect URI, route, and stuff. That is a decorator. Mm. Callback, redirect URI, valid, rules, scheme, host domain, incremental authorization. That is refreshing an access token, offline access. Access tokens periodically expire and become invalid. Credentials for a related API request. You can refresh an access token without prompting the user for permission, including when the user is not present. If you requested offline access to the scopes associated with the token. If you use a Google API client library, the client object refreshes the access token as needed as long as you configure that object for offline access. If you are not using a client library, you need to send the access type HTTP request to offline when redirecting the user. Yep, that is what I have done. Access type is set to offline. In that case, Google's authorization server returns a refresh token when you exchange an authorization code for the access token. If the access token expires or at any other time, you can use a refresh token to obtain a new access token. You can use a refresh token to obtain a new access token. Requesting offline access is required. Requesting offline access is required for any application that needs to access a Google API when the user is not present. For example, an app that performs backup services or executes actions at predetermined times needs to be able to refresh its access token when the user is not present. The default style of access is called online. Okay. Server-side web applications, all applications and devices all obtain refresh tokens during the authorization process. Refresh tokens are not typically used in client-side JavaScript web applications. HTTP. Okay, to get a refresh token, I have to send a request to this, post request to this. Okay, to get a refresh token, I have to send HTTPS post request. Yeah, I got this. I can use the client helper function which I have built and give it a request. Grant type refresh and this and this and this. Yep, gotcha. Mm-hmm. Comment this thing out and let's see. Okay, get request does not take anything, it only returns something. So how much of it is like fixed char pointer? Header is fixed, of course. Header is equal to post space slash token space http slash 1.1 r n and then in bracket post space o also Google APIs. Why am I so slow at this? Uh, yep, and then content type application x URL and URL encoded. Yep, that makes sense. And then two of them like backslash r backslash n backslash r backslash n. Yep, that much makes sense. And now to get the client ID, get the server secret and stuff, which is crazy. Okay, channel pointer client ID equals read file function, which takes in the file path. Client ID is what it is called. Read file is something that I have created. Include ship where is it? Dot slash refresh token access token. Okay, then helper.c. No, go to header files and helper.h. Helper.h has a read file function. Mhm. Yep, header files chat helper.h has a read file function, right? Helper.h shit. Helper.c. Let's see. Save token, redirect URL, redirect user. But where is the read file function? It is not here. How am I fetching stuff? this. I am fetching it. Request. Yep. Equals read file. Yep. I am using the read file function. I should be able to do the same in this thing. Incompatible integer. Why? Go back, and then into them files. Yeah. Okay, so it isn't read.h. Okay. Yep, I will be needing those libraries. Yep, I have the client secret now, and I have that. Yep, let's get the refresh token equals get refresh token. I have the refresh token, and yep, now I only have to join this one. Join char pointer array body array. Let's call it body array equals what is first thing client underscore id equals, and then the client id comma and and then comes after client id client secret client secret equals space client secret. Mhm. Makes sense. Go back, change this to this, and outer client secret. What do I have? Refresh token. Refresh token equals something which is refresh token, and then the last one. Grant type equals refresh token, and that should be it. And I suppose I would also have to include content link at some point, which I will if the Google server wants me to. I will. And after that, everybody, let me join the body char pointer body equal join the body array, and how many elements there are? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 things in total, and then char request equals join. I cannot provide an in place array. Char pointer request array equals I want to join the header and the body. Yep, and so char pointer request is join the request array, and there are two elements in that. Return the request. Okay, my bad. What are the things that I wanted free? Free client ID, free client secret, free refresh token, free body array, free body and yeah, that is good. That is all that I need. Client ID. Client ID equal to FREE free is not, it is in standard library. Include stdlib, that should do it. And in here I will take jar pointer request equals get request function, and also I should add some safety things. If client ID equals null, return couldn't make a request for to get access token, return null. Why is this an error? Shit, because I'm returning that thing. It is baby printed. This thing, it should print all to un. Oh shit, I have not included printer function. Include std o.h 16, and I would like to do the same for client secret here, and the same for refresh token. Java. Yep. After that, and the body, and then I'm joining body. I would like to do the same for body. Change the name to body, and in here, what else am I doing? Joining the request static. So I will do same with request array. Then I can free properly everything and all return what I was supposed to return. And here, after getting the request, I'll get if request is null, then printf this ain't working, and then return null myself. Otherwise, we are good to go. Otherwise, we are pretty much good to go. I have the request. I just have to call the Google API server, right? Google for APIs.com. Yep. Share pointer server domain equals this thing, and then jar pointer response is client. Call the client with the request, and the server domain is server domain. Incompatible time with pointer. Okay, yes, that makes sense. Data type pointer, and if response equals no, and I think client should work. I have, it doesn't matter what the request is or who I am sending the request to. So I suppose it should work. If response is null, then printf current contact the server to get access token with refresh token and return null. Otherwise, let's just printf or more like for int I equals 0, I less than data dot data t, yes, response dot length I plus plus and put char response dot request due to some reason and print that thing incompatible point. Uh, yes, that makes sense. I and then put char 10. That is a new line, and then return this. That should work. That should work. Fetch access token. I will have to create a new header file for that. Keep this thing and header files. Fetch access token dot h. We go to the main function and include dot slash header files fetch access token dot h 25 if refresh token equals null, then printf print get couldn't load refresh token exit 1. Yes, and otherwise print the refresh token and all fetch access token for the refresh token with access token dot c. That should work in my estimations. Let's see. I can in here comment all of this out. Make dot is it? Get a request. Get a request is written two times. Fetch in fetch token and in fetch token and in fetch access token. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. And fetch token or see this function get a request is written two times. And say get a request first. Yep. Change everything else first and change this thing here first. Now it's slash program. Let's see. Segmentation fault. I got the refresh token, which is cool, but then I got segmentation fault. Right. Fetch access token dot h. Am I getting a proper request? Let's see first. Request percent s request. That is it. Slash program and I'm not getting a proper request. Okay. Me not getting a request. Post. Yeah, content type is cool, but after content type, everything messes up. And yes, I have a new chair, not a new chair, but a different one than what I had before. And I will do this. Let's take a swing on my chair. It is amazing. And the file fetch access token, and here what do I have to do? The request is not fine as it should be. Like it is not as it should be. Let me comment this out and let's see where is the segmentation fault coming from. Slash programming.sh. Okay. I got till client. Okay. Well, that was cool. That is perfect. That is amazing request. That is exactly what I want. My request to be like. Yep. But does it still work? Yep. It does work every single time. Refresh token is also there, and grant type is also there, which is refresh token. That's cool. This is cool. So, what is the problem? Fetch access token, and let's do this much. Not print it maybe. P.sh slash program, and segmentation fault only occurs when I'm calling the function, but why is it not getting printed completely? Fetch access token, why is it not getting printed completely? Right. In here, I'm trying to print it, but it is not printing. Why? The only change is this. If I comment this thing out and compile it again and run it, it works just amazingly fine. So, what is the problem? What is the problem then? sh make dot sh. Hmm. sh make dot sh. Okay, and fetch access token. Wait, this part is not correct. Something is wrong with this part, but that should not change the line before it was running. That literally should not change that. If it does, then sleep. Which library has the sleep function? Sleep one. Which library has the sleep function? Standard lib is there. Standard IO is there. Well, I don't know which library has the sleep function. You can see the sleep. That is it. Okay, it is a Mac OS thing. How do I see what is the C library for that? Sleep 3. Okay, man 3 sleep 3 many sleep. Unistd.h include unistd.h unsigned integer standard dot.h segmentation what it is not printing correctly. Access token before sending the thing. I will be printing and yeah, printing it. I will request me.sh slash program and the program. Okay, it is printed. 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 But why is it messing up? Why is it not printing when I am printing it inside the function where it is returned? Like, this is the thing that I was supposed to be printed, and then from this is the part where it is being printed in the main function. That is not correct. Access token, get request, this one. Mhm. So it is not null. I'm getting something, but why is it not being printed completely? Completely, completely, completely. Stir copy. Am I doing something mischievous with the bits? No. And it only is showing this problem when I am calling this function later on, the client function. If I'm not doing that, then it works perfectly fine. Put char in new line, just to put a new line there. Program. Set it missed. Wait. It is being printed in two times. Shit. Okay. Why is it being printed in not in one go? Request array contains the header and the body, and it joins the two. And yeah, it joins the two. Here I am joining the body, which contains client ID and client secret and refresh token and grant type, which in total has 7 members. Why is this being printed like two runs? Due to some reason, it is not being printed in one go, and the printing of this thing starts, but then after starting the printing for this thing, uh, control goes to the next thing, and after that the printing continues due to some reason. Okay, that is not how linear execution on a thread works. In C, I have a string which has multiple R and N, but printing it and then using sleep one after the print statement causes the printing to stop for the amount specified inside the sleep statement, for the amount specified inside the sleep statement, for the amount specified inside the sleep statement, and the rest of the string is only printed after that stoppage. Okay, this happens because of output buffering in C explanation. When you print a string using printf, the output is typically buffered before being written to the terminal. Okay, so the printf only prints the output to the standard buffer. For interactive terminals, output is line buffered. That is backslash n, flush it, flush it. Okay. For files and pipes, output is buffered, is fully buffered, flushed only when the buffer is full or explicitly flushed. In your case, since the string contains carriage and return new line, the line buffer behavior might not be triggered, causing the output to stay in the buffer until sleep one finishes. Solution: you need to force the buffer to flush before calling sleep one. You can do this several ways. What does it mean? Okay. So inside inside the RAM, there is a file called buffer, which stores the standard output, uh, output, and the same, and the contents are displayed on the terminal screen. Is that it? Yes, conceptually, you can think of it that way. The buffer is a temporary storage area in RAM that holds out before it is displayed on the terminal. However, it is not the actual file, but rather a memory region managed by the C runtime and the operating system. How standard output buffering works. When you call printf, the output is not immediately written to the terminal. Instead, it goes into an internal buffer in memory. When does the buffer get flushed? Sent to the Okay, flushing the buffer means sending it to the screen. If the buffer fills up, uh, fully buffered output, like if file writes, if a new line is encountered and the stream is inline buffered for common terminals, if explicitly flushed using a flush standard output. So I first have to printf and then buffer. When the program exits normally, okay, now if I were to add a new line at the end of that string, then I would see the buffer. Okay, yes, that is a nice theory. That is a nice theory. That is a nice theory. I can test it. Backslash n. That should be able to buffer it. If my intuition about this is correct, I should see the whole thing immediately. I do see the whole thing immediately. Do I? I do see the whole thing immediately. Because of the new line character, which is making the buffer flush immediately when it sees the new line character at the end of the string. Access token, and let's see. Then, if I were to remove that thing, then the buffer would not work. The buffer will still contain the last line body, which does not contain any new line character, and thus it will not auto flush, and I would have to do something manually if I wanted to flush it. Yep. See, it is flushed at the end of the program. That makes sense. When the program exits normally, all remaining buffer output is flushed automatically. I does causes a delay in output. Since the output is still in the buffer, it hasn't actually reached the terminal yet. The program pauses for this, so nothing happens after the program resumes. The buffer eventually gets flushed, and you see the output. That makes sense. Line buffered, fully buffered, unbuffered. Default immediately. Yep, I guess it is line buffered. no new line stays. So this stays in the buffer. That okay, that is fucking crazy. Now the buffer flushes automatically. That is fucking crazy. I didn't know that. And if I were to not write this thing, then hello world would be printed onto the terminal from the buffer because the program will end immediately and I would not know that it didn't print the hello world immediately. Explicitly flushing a flush standard output. Yep, I can do that. Token or F flush standard out. Yep. And yep, yep, yep. Buffer, buffer. That makes sense. I should see the whole thing immediately now. I do see the whole thing immediately now. So yeah, buffer is like a temporary storage space inside RAM that holds output until it is to be displayed on the screen. Intermediary temporary space. Okay, I have a few conceptual questions. The term buffer is used refer to some some temporary representation of data that is yet to be processed and is not yet fully stored in the storage device and is or is still being worked on. It refers to files uh, opened uh, open open files to a space in the memory which stores to a space in the memory of a server computer which stores the requests which are yet to be processed which stores the requests which are yet to be processed or in our case uh, in our case it refers to a temporary representation of what is going to be shown on the terminal and thus each C program has its own buffer. There are three main ones: STD standard out, standard in, standard error. Three buffers. And what else? I have three main buffers. What else? What else? Yeah, yeah, that is pretty much it. Buffers. Buffer. What do I do not Steve manning the case? What is the thing that I do not understand about buffers? The buffers are a temporary representation of data that is going to be processed, yet to be processed, or is being processed and is not yet stored. So if the buffer is lost, then I cannot recover it. It is in the memory. It is not in any storage system. It is in the memory. If it is lost, then it is lost. And thus, each C program has its own buffer. There are three main ones: standard output, input, and error. Yeah, let's talk about for steady out. It is a temporary representation of what the representation of the text that is going to be printed on the terminal. And whenever the buffer std out buffer flushes whatever it then its contents are removed and put on the terminal. Whatever flushing a buffer means. Yep. Yeah, I've got the idea. Key points or buffers in C. Buffers exist for different I/O streams. Each C program has its own standard buffers. The main ones are being standard output, standard input, and standard error for error messages. Mhm. Yeah, I can interact with the standard output error by printf. I can interact with the standard input error by scanf or getchar. I can interact with the standard error buffer using fprintf function. Yep. How standard out works. It stores output temporarily before printing it onto the terminal. The output is only first written to the screen when new line is printed. If new line buffer, the I can do some crazy stuff with that actually. If I wanted to, can I? Because I know that unless there is a new line character, everything is going into the buffer if the program does not end. Hmm. How standard output works. It stores output temporarily before printing it onto the terminal. The output is only flushed, written to the screen. When a new line is printed, the buffer fills up or the program ends. And generally, I would say it prints when the program ends or when a new line is printed. And people are stupid, so they forget to write a new line, and it prints when the program ends, and they do not notice that whatever they wanted to print only got printed after the program ended because their programs are not too complex in college students or in schools. Now back to our program. It's been shit. It's only been 53 minutes. Let me start on interstellar music. It's gravity. It is gravity. Fourth dimensional manifold of space-time. That is true. That is fine. And yeah, I'll just continue now. I'm writing a function which gets access token from the server if the refresh token is given. https.c, and this is very poorly written. It opens something, then it does something, and then it does something else, and then it creates a socket. And here is where I would like to add some printing. But here after connect, check this. That's a connection. Okay. Um, yeah. Okay. Um, Connected to server. Backslash me.sh program, and let's see. Connected to the server. So I was connected to the server. That is cool. Access token, and don't print that, you stupid. Well, I am the only one here. So, yep. Here HTTPS. So I am establishing a connection. It's cool, very cool for programmers to establish connections. And then I connect it with it using SSL, and I guess that should also work fine. Connected using SSL, let's say, and then get server response. I send in that, and I write data. I get a response. Okay, let's see. Print it. Request sent /n dynamic response. Got response. Even. And also let's say length is %d, which is response dot length. Let's see how that works. Program and connected using SSL, but then it messed up. Okay. Got to the connecting using SSL part, but then it got messed up. I was unable to write to the server. Connected using SSL, right? And get server response. Sterling response. Segmentation fault. Request. Segmentation fault. Okay, so some problem is being erased in this part. Person is RE request. Print the request and a new line after the request. Program, and that does work. I'm sending the request, so the request is valid. But I am facing segmentation fault in writing using SSL. Why? URL encoded. This string should work just fine. It is not. Let's access to not handle server response. Get server response, which is just above there right there. I am unable to write, and it is saying segmentation fault because I'm getting the length of the response, which is request. That was actually stupid. How was it working till now? Sterling, request. Uh-huh, 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 uh, get server response, right, yep, and handle client handle server. Get client request, whatever the client requested, and write response size of size of seems like the right thing, but Sterling will also work the same way. Message program, and fuck, I didn't got get the whole fucking thing. 1564. Okay. Wait. So why did I got some kind of error? Length required. Okay. Okay. That was expected. Access token. That was expected. So here I have the body thing. I have to take the length of the body and put it in the header. Where is the header? Here we have it. Now, this, let's say, um, content length space. Right, after this, I have to add the content length to it. And I should not join the header before that. The header is already one thing, body length. Okay, body length equals Sterling body. That should be it. Okay, include it then. Include std string.h. But I guess good programmers don't have to do this thing manually. They have stuff set up for this sort of thing. I have a link on the body. Now I want to add this link at the end of the header. Right. Yes. Array header. Then comes a ITO A, and the thing is body link, and then comes some special symbols R N R N. Then comes the body. Is that correct? Yes, that seems to be correct. Instead of two, now I have four things I want to add. And is that correct? Seems like it. Let's do that. And fucking hell, I am getting it. That is good. Refresh token expires in that much time. Forces is in the hand stuff. Expires. You have the access token. So this function will parse this thing and get the access token. And do I have to worry about expires in the expires in thing? Can I get a new access token using the same thing? Should, I guess the header this time was longer. No, it's the same as long as it was before. 200. Okay, yo, that is cool. And before it said that the refresh token expires in 74. In 74 now it says 41. Now I will say even lower than that. Yeah, even lower than that. 17. Okay, that is the amount of seconds. Then 100 seconds, 1000, 10,000, 5,000 seconds. That would mean 5. Let's say it is 6,000 seconds. So that would be equal to 100 minutes. 100 minutes? 6,600. Yep, 100 minutes, which would be equal to around 1.5 hour, which is not good. I would have to get a new access token, and yep, I would have to get a new access token. I can figure that out later. First, first of all, I have to do this. I am getting this much. Yep, incremental work. Wait, now I have to get access token from this thing. I can use the CJSON library for that. Access token include the CJSON library, include in double quotes, enterprise C JSON for each. It is included but never used, which is tragic. Uh-huh. Here, right here. Enterprise C JSON 17, get the data. I want the data, and then yep, sharp pointer parse and get access token, which is very legitimate name for this. Char pointer, not char pointer, data type T, and data type T. Yep, let's call it arc, just randomly arc, and yeah, C JSON pointer object equals C JSON parse C JSON parse r dot request comma r dot length, and yep, I have to change this to parse with length. This cool, and are there any errors which I have to check for? Yep, yes, object equals null. Then enter, couldn't parse response, and like that, and return null. But if I did parse the response, then I can use the macro to traverse through the keys. Uh, what was the macro? It was used in get. Again, fetch token, not a get token. Parse response 43. Here I am checking it. For int I JSON parse with length. I initialize an object, okay, and for int I equal 0 till I less than length I, if response request I equals this thing. That fucking makes sense. That fucking makes sense. I cannot parse the whole thing. I can only parse. Yep. How can I be so fucking stupid? R response. How was I so fucking stupid? Use the documentation. Here also use the documentation and obj. I have to define obj. See JSON pointer obj. I got the object, and then after getting the object, I want to traverse through it using this thing. I initialize a CJSON type item and CJSON array item for each item and object. Do this thing if item string matches what I want, and object is the object on which I want to traverse, and item is the current thing. Okay. C JSON pointer item and C JSON for JSON for C JSON for shit C JSON array for each CJSON CJSON array for each taken item and the object on which I want to traverse, and then the thing. And what is the thing? Yep, item dot string if stir compare item dot string is equal to what? Okay, it is equal to access token. Yep, that is the only thing that I want. Access token. And fetch access token. If this thing is equal to access, if this thing is equal to access token equal 0, then I have the access token. Then just return item or string. Otherwise, at the end, return no. No, don't return the string. Return the value of the string. And now declare function right access token 20 printing the request like a stupid man. I don't want to do that. I don't have to do that. I can here now. I will get parts get access token for the response. Yeah. Okay, get whatever is char pointer access token equals this. If access token equals null, printf couldn't parse to get access token and return null. Otherwise, return access token. That is pretty fucking cool. Fetch access token and do all of that, so on and so on. Like someone named Zizek would say, and 25 refresh token, char, char pointer access token is this. Free that thing. Yes, there is a lot of bad code that I have written. Printf percentage access token. There is A lot of extremely bad code which I've written it. Let's see. Access token is this thing, whatever it is. Main.sh program. I got the access token and everything in between. In the client, let me remove the printf statements. Printf this and remove this thing, and in here remove this, and what else? Where else am I printing? For no apparent reason, response. I'm printing the response. I don't want to print anymore. And if that is cool, wait, what is this? Slash program. I get. I am getting the access token now. Yo, which is cool. Which is cool. Now what do I want? Well, before thinking about the meta level details, meta level concepts about getting a new access token, I can just say that if I have a again in this part in the main function, this whole thing which I have written till now, in the past I would do 21 streams. This whole thing is only there for one thing. I'm till now at this point I am only getting the access token. I have to implement the logic after that. The logic which comes after that. Very manual work. Emmanuel. First, when I get into the program, I will check if this is null or not. Right. And if Sterling, if refresh token equals 0, if a string length is 0, then relog in the user. If this thing, then don't do that. Okay. If either it is null or Sterling, is yep, or Sterling is refresh token equals 0. If that is the case, like current load refresh token, the user has to log in. Access in. Yo. Instead of exiting, I do this logic. Save tokens and stuff. Yep. Otherwise, just continue. I can print the refresh token. If this is the case, then save tokens. After save tokens, I should say that refresh token equals save tokens first thing. And that is token save. No, save tokens is nothing. Tokens yes. Then I am printing a refresh token and fetching access token. Yep. Yep. I should have access token if it is not already there. So I'll print access access token equals no, no to begin with. And now let's say this. If access token equals no, then do this thing, and then get the access token and print the access token and whatever you want to do with it. And yeah, I can say access token equals tokens zeroth. Wait, everything, everything I want it and want. Let's see. Now I can do a crazy thing, which is open Gmail. It is actually crazy. Yep, key simulator. Go to securities on live stream. Yep, two-step verification, showing my phone number and everything. Shit, this is not even my account. Shit, I have to go to the other one. This one, the default one. Security, here, and provoke access to my live chat display app confirmed, so that I can re-log in using OAuth to this thing. Leave. Yep. LSRM dot refresh token, and I should be re-logged in. Prompted to re-log in. Yep, continue. It is cool. Give all the access. Continue. Uh, uh, the user has to re-log in. Couldn't open file, couldn't load a refresh token. The user has to re-log in. That should be what is happening right now. The user is trying to re-log in. It has been 1 hour and 20 minutes, and I didn't even come to know. The internet speed is going down, and that is not working due to some reason, strange reason. I'll start it again. Couldn't load a refresh to an SH opening file matching that. The fuck, something messed up. It's better this time than last time. And I will be ending the stream in a while because I wanted to listen to music while streaming. And that music is not copyright. The user has to relog in, but the site can't be reached from here. Something messed up. Something messed up. Something messed up. Somewhere. Continue. Give access to everything. Continue. I am unable to relog in. What are the changes that I have made? What are the changes that I have made? Have I made some bad changes which I should not be making? Looking at this is supposed to be the simplest thing in the whole thing, and that isn't working now. Main in the main function. Okay, cannot print. Create a thread. Null. Fetch code function. Yep, and then get the URL. Redirect the user. That is working, and then join the URL. So I'm getting stuck. I'm joining the URL part. code, get code. All of that is amazing parts code, and getting stuck with that is it is only listening. Server, no, don't send anything requests. Server, I have not fucked with the server in a long time, so it should be working pretty fine. SSL handle requests. SSL handle request. Make connection accept. Okay. Printer connection accepted. Backslash. Let's say that is a full thing. Right. Let's see the user has to re-log in due to some reason. Continue. No safety. Safety third. The connection has not been accepted. It's because my IP changed. If config en0 grep inet. Yep, my IP did change. So okay, makes sense. Makes sense. I'm not that stupid. It seems. Back DNS, I had to set up a DNS service, which I was unable to set up. That is the root of all evil, and being unable to set up a DDNS service. Update this thing, it has been updated, now it should run. Start the program, continue, safety third, continue. My hopes are there this time. Connection has not been established. I guess it will take a bit of time for the DDNS to update. If config correct. Now, okay, how do I NC? I guess is the one. Refresh token, access token, and if I run the program again, I get the refresh token and the access token, which is fucking amazing. A new one, that is a new refresh token and a new access token every time that I run my service. Now, since I have the access token, I can finally contact the Google API to get some live chat. Fuck. I can finally contact the Google API. Okay. Google YouTube API. Reference guides, videos, and stuff. And I really want to listen to better music than just it. I'm not saying interstellar music is not good, but right now I want to listen to words, and this has been very repetitive. No matter how great it is, it has been repetitive. Yeah, I am ending the stream, and I will be putting on my own, which is the main purpose. The main purpose is not streaming. The main purpose is to code, and I will be coding. Yes. Bye. That is the end. Ragnarok.